Hello again, and welcome back to the Slow Flowers podcast with Deborah Prinzing. This is episode 571. This is the weekly podcast about slow flowers and the people who grow and design with them. It's all about making a conscious choice, and I invite you to join the conversation and the creative community as we discuss the vital topics of saving our domestic flower farms and supporting a floral industry that relies on a safe, seasonal, and local supply of flowers and foliage. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 850 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers. And to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor, Farm Grow Flowers. Farm Grow Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S.-grown fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgrowflowers.com. And thank you to Details Flowers Software, a platform specifically designed to help florists and designers do more and earn more. With an elegant and easy-to-use system, Details improves profitability, productivity, and organization for floral businesses of all shapes and sizes. Grow your bottom line through professional proposals and confident pricing with Details all in one platform. All friends of the Slow Flowers podcast will receive a 7-day free trial of Details Flowers software. Learn more at detailsflowers.com. My guest today is Kelsey Ruhland, owner of Foxbound Flowers, a floral studio offering same-day delivery to the Eugene, Oregon marketplace. Her brand offers electric vehicle delivery, responsible sourcing, zero waste, and non-single-use plastics, as well as locally and U.S.-grown flowers and plants. I'm especially fascinated with Kelsey's flower shop hacks. She uses everything from upcycled cardboard and floral sleeves to create a second use for many materials that would otherwise land in the garbage or fill her recycling bin. You'll see a few of those tricks in our interview if you hop on over to slowflowerspodcast.com for episode 571, where I've included the replay video of this conversation. I visited Kelsey when I was in Oregon last month, eager to hear her story. She was born and raised in North Dakota, and Kelsey says she and her family moved to Eugene to explore the mountains and big trees, enjoy the Pacific coast, the culinary scene, and frankly, to seek a warmer climate. You will hear in our conversation that Kelsey has worked in the floral industry since 2008, previously owning a full-service retail flower shop in Bismarck, North Dakota, which specialized in wedding and event work. Her wedding florals have been featured on popular blogs such as Wedding Sparrow, Magnolia Rouge, Style Me Pretty, and Dainty Obsessions, and in the magazine Rock and Roll Bride. When not arranging flowers, Kelsey enjoys hiking, playing the piano, painting, and baking. And as you will learn from our conversation, she is a true maker, adding ceramics and pottery and woodworking to her business to enhance one-of-a-kind offerings for customers. Let's jump right in and meet Kelsey Ruhland. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Slow Flowers show. And I'm so thrilled today to welcome Kelsey Ruhland of Foxbound Flowers based in Eugene, Oregon. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad this worked out. And true confessions, everyone, I visited Kelsey in person and saw her studio when I was in Eugene last week. And for some reason, the recording didn't work. So we're doing this over Zoom now. But I have in-person experienced your studio, Kelsey. It's just adorable. Thank you so much for hosting me last week.
Yeah, I'm glad I get to see you twice.
Well, I was trying to figure out how I would describe Foxbound Flowers based on, all the amazing resources you have on your website and meeting you. And your tagline is same day flower delivery to Eugene, Oregon. And built Foxbound Flowers around these four legs of the stool of sustainability. You have electric vehicle delivery, responsible sourcing, zero waste, and non-single-use plastics. And I know there's so much more, but those are the things that your customers respond to, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's the people in this community really are looking for sustainable businesses. So it's been a great way to market myself and set myself apart from other florists in the area.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about how Foxbound Flowers is set up. You have a studio that looks like a storefront, but you really don't offer walk-in services. You try to move everybody to phone or online ordering, right?
I do, and that's for a couple reasons. I did have a full service shop in the previous city I lived in, which I loved, and it was great interacting with customers that would walk in the shop. I do kind of miss that part, but I wanted to kind of streamline the business, be able to leave the studio when I want to leave the studio and not feel like I'm obligated to be here all the time. And I'm just kind of tethered to the shop. So that's one part of it. The other part is to keep overhead costs low. When you have people walking in a retail setting, you know, you always have to have enough product on hand to make it look good. So you always have to have something. Whereas in the studio setting where I just do arrangements made to order, I can keep my inventory lower and I don't have to have all that extra inventory.
That's a really good point. And you can be there working, but you're only there for a couple hours, but then you're out on deliveries, and then you're, not that you have an easy life because you're a mom, but you go on to other things.
Right. Yeah.
So let's break down those sort of 4 themes. I'd love to just have you give some examples. Like, first of all, you're in Eugene, Oregon. There are so many established and also newer flower farmers in Oregon. How are you sourcing? What are your main go-to resources, either from wholesalers or farmers?
Sure. There are a lot of flower growers here, which makes it really fun. Because the growing season is so long and the weather is so nice. There's tons of options. There's almost too many. And sometimes I have to remind myself, like, I can't order all the flowers. I have to limit myself. And otherwise I'll just order all of them. And I'll be like, why did I order this much stuff? So there really are more flowers being grown here than people to purchase them, which is, it's really nice. So It gives me a lot of selection. But most of the flower growers are really small. They're on a really small starting scale. And so it does require a lot of legwork of contacting all those individual growers, finding out what they have, kind of piecing together what I'm going to have for the week. So that does take a lot of extra work. And then in the winter, I source from a wholesaler in Portland, Frank Adams. And they source, I make sure that I know where my stuff is coming from, that my salesman knows where the stuff is coming from, and it gets sourced from other places in Oregon and then just California, which narrows the palette quite a bit. But I think you just have to get more creative with the smaller palette.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because I was just interviewed Peter Court Roses, and they told me that they sell not just only through Oregon Flower Growers Association, but through Frank Adams. So they, they're aware that designers buy from different wholesalers, and they want to try to get their Oregon grown roses into your hands. So, but that's being a one-woman show. It's hard for you to be away from the studio going to pick up product all the time. In a perfect world, it would be delivered to you, right?
Yeah. And some of the growers do deliver it, which is really nice, and some don't. So just kind of pick and choose depending on how much time they have. But it is fun to visit the farms too. That's
absolutely
a really fun part of the job. So
absolutely. So the other two kind of go hand in hand, the zero waste business and the zero use of single-use plastics. How did you develop that philosophy? And give us some examples of the things that that you've had to adapt or change to avoid using, having waste and using, single-use plastics.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of a process when I was setting up my business. When I was setting up Foxbound Flowers, which I started in 2019, I decided that I wanted to go sustainable from the beginning and set those things into motion from the very, and get it into the very framework of the business rather than trying to implement it into systems that would already exist. So I thought that would be easier. I think I bit off a lot, and I think I didn't quite understand what I was getting into. So it's been quite challenging, and sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, why did I decide to do this?
Right. But I would say the interesting thing is that when we'll talk a little bit about this, your other retail store was more conventional before you moved to Oregon. So you kind of knew what you didn't want to do. So you just had to be creative and basically find educational, teach yourself how to change, right?
Right. And a lot of the changes aren't hard. They just take more time. And as we all know in the floral industry, time is the most precious commodity, and every second counts. So you have to make time for those things by being more efficient at something else, or finding the time to do those things, like weighing all my compost, for example. Like that takes extra time. And so I do weigh all my compost, but we do have a great composting program here, which isn't available in all cities. So,
right.
That's where 90% of my waste goes.
That's crazy. How do you weigh it?
I just have a scale, and I put the entire, I keep all my compost in like a big trash bin, and then that's on wheels. And then I just weigh the entire trash bin at the end of the day and record it, and then keep track of how much I'm composting, how much I'm throwing in the trash. But we have a great system, and so I can just take it out to the alley every night, and it gets picked up.
Wow. So
that's
all your greens, all your, any kind of cuttings, that's all just going straight into the municipal composting program.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So the other things about waste that when I visited you, I was so interested in is that you recycle a lot of cardboard and other materials for everyday deliveries, and that you've made an intentional choice to design a custom Foxbound Flowers solution rather than just buying a product. And I really admire that.
Yeah, I want to, one of the things I try to do too is just to use less new products. If there's something that already exists in the world that's at my fingertips, like why not just kind of recreate it and use it instead of manufacturing something new? I mean, it is much easier and takes less time to just buy it new. But like you said, cardboard, for example, there's cardboard everywhere. We're like swimming in cardboard. So if I can use the cardboard, why not? So, for example, I'm kind of back you up here so we can. I fashioned my own carrier, like a vase carrier, out of repurposed cardboard, and then just some cardboard, like packaging tape. And let me find a vase here.
So you have your own branding on the seal, basically.
I do, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of plop these in here to show you. And then it just goes in like that. So it's just cutting a piece of cardboard to size, and then that's what I can send with the customer when they do come to pick up an arrangement.
Okay, so and so that and you changed the opening to fit the vase, basically. The scoring. Wow, that's amazing.
I have like this much pre-made, and then when the customer comes, depending on the size of the vase, I can just cut the opening to size.
That's amazing. So, wow.
Yeah, so no new materials with that. One of the other things I do is I offer a lot of bouquets without vases. So, plenty of people have vases at home already. So there's no sense, if you already have that, to, first of all, purchase a new vase, but then we don't need to manufacture more vases that are just going to end up in someone's attic. Okay, so I have a bouquet of flowers. Beautiful, I know. One of the problems I came up against was, I have a loose, like a wrapped bunch of flowers, I can't just lay it on someone's door and leave. So it needs to have a water source. And I don't want to use foam or plastic. So what I do is I cut circles of the packaging material that the plants get shipped in, or the flowers get shipped in. I repurpose that, cut it into a little circle, put it on the bottom of the flowers, and it acts as a water source. Reuse rubber bands from the bunches of flowers I get in, and then create a temporary vase out of cardboard, which is just
similar to your other gadget. Yeah.
Yep. It's just a simple piece of cardboard cut into a triangle, and you can leave that on someone's doorstep. Then it has water, the flowers stay upright. And
it's so smart.
Using no new materials.
And the recycled plastic film that for the sleeves, you, first of all, you get way more than you feel horrible throwing it in the garbage. So obviously, you're giving it a second life at least. Can you put water in that? Like, do you normally pour a little water in there?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can.
So it's like a little vessel. It becomes a little vessel then. Yeah.
Yep.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So you can just add water right in there before you fasten it up.
That's wonderful. Wow. So you also, because you're doing deliveries, you said that, and well, I'm going to add, I did shoot a little video of going with you in your electric car. So we'll add that to this, because I have that on my phone and people will like to see it. But you intentionally built this, zero carbon emissions use of your transportation vehicle into the business. You have the cutest little car. And how did that come about?
Actually, I was interviewing for some positions for some delivery people. And one of the people I really wanted to hire, but they had like a 2-door sports car. And so I was like, well, that's not really going to work.
That's not on brand for you.
It's not really on brand. I think people might be a little confused about that. So I realized I needed to get my own delivery vehicle, but vans are really expensive. It wasn't quite in my budget range. So I was thinking, well, I just need something really small to fit a few bouquets in, and that's all I need. So I was looking at something that's like a glorified Vespa, basically with a back on it. But and then I landed on this Fiat 500e that's just this tiny little car. It's basically a glorified go-kart, but has protection from all the elements, obviously, and is 100% electric. And it's actually a really affordable electric car. A lot of electric cars are not very affordable, but this tiny car was quite affordable. And so we put some marketing on the side of it and got it wrapped, and away we went. And people love it. They see that on my website, and they'll tell me like, well, I picked your shop because you do electric deliveries. So,
and you said that you have a radius of about 9 or 10 miles from downtown Eugene. Is that for your kind of where your service area is?
Yep.
And you can fit a lot of bouquets in the back of that when the seats are down, right?
You really can. Yeah, it's worked really well. When I do like big weddings and installation pieces, I have to use a bigger vehicle, but otherwise it's been perfect for everything I need. And I plug it in at night when I get home from work, and I get about 120 miles out of it daily. So it's just the perfect thing.
That is so impressive. Well, hey, I want to pop up your website so we can just kind of look at how you are setting up your online. Okay, so now we're going to get the second video. Thanks for your patience. And we'll go right to Kelsey's website. Here's your logo of your clever little sporty fox. And this is a made-up word, Foxbound, right?
It is, yeah.
I really like it, though. It has this energy to it. And maybe because this fox looks like she's leaping, it kind of she's your avatar, right?
Yeah, I wanted something that was really dynamic and held a lot of energy in it. So that's.
I think it works. And that's,
Yeah.
by the way, the graphic on your little Fiat. So very recognizable around town. Yeah. So your tagline is Eugene Sustainable Florist. And what happens if I click on Learn More? Should I click on that?
Yeah, you should. I don't often visit my own website. So
that's all right. I know. Well, it's all on here. The responsible product sourcing. You talk about where you're sourcing from to keep your carbon footprint smaller. The electrical vehicle flower delivery. Of course, this looks like it was before you painted your cute car.
Yeah,
or is this...
that was before I got the wrap. Yeah.
Well, people will get to see that. And then the reducing the need for new materials. Hey, this is a really great. We didn't actually talk about this last week until right when I was leaving, but I noticed you had these wooden boxes that are so charming. And how did that come about?
My husband and I have a 6-foot fence in our backyard, and we had to replace some of the panels of it. And then we just had all these wood panels stacked up, and it's really a beautiful wood. It's patinaed. It has moss and lichen growing on it due to all the rain and the wet weather in Oregon. So I just got an idea like, hey, we should build something out of this. I need floral containers, and this wood's just sitting here with no purpose. So my husband helped me cut the wood and put them together and size them correctly. And they've been a big hit. So I've also put the word out that, when other people are getting rid of fences, I can take the wood. And there's so many fences in this city. So there's always wood that needs a home and needs to be repurposed. So it works out pretty good.
I love it. And so there's basically 4 sides and then some kind of bottom, and then you insert a recycled vessel to kind of hold the water, right?
Yeah, there's 2 sizes. The smaller size, which I think is the one in the photo, is sized to fit just a can, like a metal can, like a can of tomatoes or whatever. So, and then that can be recycled when you're done. The larger size holds like a yogurt container, like a plastic yogurt container, which can't be recycled here in Eugene. So people just have like tons of yogurt containers that they're they don't want to throw away, and they're happy to find out that someone can reuse them and give them another life.
And then the wooden box makes it like have this gorgeous character to it. I just love it. So that's you're really a product developer, I think, Kelsey. I mean, you came up with that. You've come up with the uses for cardboard. This is, of course, mentioned. Oh, look at this. You mentioned actually how much waste was diverted by the steps you take to weigh and calculate what's left at the end of the day. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I should clarify that I don't know how important it is, but I'm not certified zero waste. The certification process is actually quite expensive.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's that has been kind of a learning curve for me as I realized I wanted to be zero waste. Is there's not a lot of information out there on how to be zero waste or what you do or how you get certified. So there are a few companies that can certify you, but it is really expensive.
Right. It'd be more like for a large manufacturer or somebody, not a solopreneur. But you're still walking the talk, and that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So this is on the flower ordering page. You charge $10.99 for delivery, which seems very competitive. I mean, I'm sure with fuel costs now, everybody's increasing their delivery fee because of like the gas surcharge, but you don't have to charge that.
Right. So, yeah.
So so here are some, like, you're basically developing products that are people can order specifically a type of vessel or a size, and then in many cases it's designer's choice, right?
I do have a designer's choice option, but the bouquets that are shown on my website are like, if you order that, what you see is what you get, or it's going
Wow.
to be so close that, you know, if you're not a florist, you can't tell the difference, or it's going to have pretty much the same look. So I think it's important to be able to have that option. A lot of people don't know anything about flowers. If they don't know you, they don't know what to expect. So I think it's really important to offer things that you know what you're getting. The picture shows you what you're getting, and that's what you're getting.
I think you're right. I mean, you're trying to think about like, what is the most user-friendly way for people to engage with Foxbound Flowers? And yeah, especially if they're new to this type of flower ordering, you're kind of doing the thinking for them. This bonita caught my eye. You had one much like this when I visited you last week. And it sort of shows this, your design aesthetic too, where you vary the heights of the flowers. Some are low and clustered, some are like tall and perky. And you have also flowers that many people are familiar with, like the peach lilies. You'd say that they're fragrant free, and you don't need a whole bouquet of roses, but just one or two roses then makes people feel like they're getting some special value for that. And that price is amazing.
Yeah, I think some of the more common flowers, like the lilies and roses, often get overlooked, because I think they're great flowers, but I think we they have been overused.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, will tell me they don't want those in their bouquets, but I think if you put them with the right stuff and you use them in moderation, they can be really beautiful. So
I love it.
I like to incorporate those. And they're, one thing with sourcing a lot of local flowers is that there aren't a lot of big focal flowers to source. A lot of them are really small flowers. So the lilies and the roses that are grown in Oregon are a really good way to incorporate a larger focal flower, which otherwise you'd have these big bouquets full of little tiny flowers and they'd be a lot more expensive. So
yeah. And then at certain times of the year, you get the focal peony, or this, as you see in this one, the sunflower, or maybe the dahlias, but you have to switch it up constantly to keep up with what's in bloom. I wanted to just specifically look at this one because of this vase, which is so charming, and it says thank you. And I absolutely love it. And the fact that you are making your own ceramic or pottery vessels just blew my mind. So it looks like this one, for example, if they want a classic glass vase, it's $65.99. And then what happens? Oh, so the charge goes up like $30 to get the vase, which is also an incredible price. So can you talk about how these vases came to be? And I'll see if I can, are there others on here? I'll see if I can find a few others to show people.
Yeah, there's one of the fuchsia background, and it's right at the top. It's just
right
really
here. Scroll
this
up
one
a little more. Okay, this one also has.
That one does too. Yeah,
this has the teal. The sort of, that's stunning. By the way, what a gorgeous arrangement. Wow. So the pottery is just like I described you last week when I met you and realized how creative you were, that you're like a floral MacGyver. Like you just, MacGyver designer, you just like figure it out. And so how did that come to be, the pottery?
Part of that is sourcing. I wanted to be able to source the vases I wanted and not have to ship them from China. And there isn't a lot available for that. The other part is the pandemic, which glass and pottery became ridiculously unavailable, especially for someone who's picky about their aesthetic. It really got to be like a beggars can't be choosers.
You don't want to get this like generic 1980s looking glass vase, which isn't your aesthetic, right?
Yeah, and I really like, I use a lot of clear glass, but I really am looking for some really basic pieces that are not clear glass, because I think glass can be kind of distracting when you're talking about aesthetics. So but I could never find what I wanted. So I just thought, well, how hard can it be? I'll just make some. It turns out it's really hard. So I'm still working on that, but I love making things. So it's still a work in progress. So some of the vessels.
So these are stunning. So do people buy them separately, or are they mainly to go with a floral arrangement?
They're mainly to go with the floral arrangement, and I probably will offer them separately. I don't feel like, if you look really close at these, they're not obviously they're not professionally made. So they're still in progress. I'm still perfecting my skills. So
you're being hard on yourself. I think that you've come up with this hand-built kind of, I took pottery in high school, so I kind of remember this. Like, you roll out the clay, you shape it, and it's not a wheel, it's by hand. It's hand built, right?
Yeah.
And then you're choosing that beautiful, those glaze options, which kind of also fit with your brand, that teal. Mm-hmm. And I think that the rusticness of it just fits with your brand too. It's really modern, and having the thank you imprinted into the clay, brilliant. I'm going to order one for my friends I stay with in Eugene then, because then I'll be your first customer.
Yeah, great.
So talk a little bit about your path. I find it really fascinating that you moved across country and just for a change of lifestyle, but it was a big change for you. And what tell us a little bit about what led you to come to the West Coast?
Well, we were in a position to just kind of decide that we wanted to change. So, I know that has a lot of privilege to just be able to move across the country because you want to. We have a daughter, and my daughter was getting to the age where we felt like we needed to decide where we wanted to be and then stay there until she's done with high school. Mm-hmm. And we felt like that time was narrowing. And if we stayed, we were going to stay for the rest of our lives, which would be fine. Like, we loved it there.
And you were in North Dakota, right?
We were in Bismarck, North Dakota. And we loved our community, but we just wanted to get out and see what else is out there.
Because you were born and raised there, right?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So my sister moved to the West Coast. She moved to Eugene a couple of years before we got here, and we looked around. We're like, wow, it has mountains and ocean and all these beautiful plants growing. This is going to be the place for us. So here we are.
Oh my gosh.
Opened right before the pandemic hit. So
right. Yeah. So you opened Foxbound Flowers in 2019, and you were saying that it was because you probably worked on the business for quite a while before you actually launched, right?
Yeah.
You found a space, you had to build a website, you had to you had to start from scratch, basically. Mm-hmm. What led you to look at your old flower shop in North Dakota and what you liked or didn't like about that type of business you started to talk about changing from retail to studio, but you also changed from conventional like floral foam practices and maybe, that sort of palette to this new aesthetic. That was like a 180 and it would be really difficult for a lot of florists, I think.
I think it's just a sense of like duty and responsibility. I mean, I looked at how much garbage my floral shop was producing, and I was, even when you're recycling your cardboard, it was still like a dumpster full of cardboard on the weekly.
Wow.
And just look at all those products that are just wasted. It was kind of heartbreaking. And when I stopped using foam, it was quite an adjustment, and it was hard because we used a lot of foam because it's so easy. It's a brilliant product. It really is. Mm-hmm. But once we switched and kind of just like got used to it, it was a lot easier. So then I was searching for products to use instead of floral foam. So I thought like poultry netting, like the wire mesh. I was doing that in vases, but that I thought was kind of seemed like a tetanus hazard. And customer who was like pulling it out of their vase, and they've got this big wad of to deal with. So then I switched to plastic poultry netting, and then I realized now I'm just like creating this plastic waste that like little animals can get their heads stuck in, and so I'm like, well, I'm done. I'm gonna totally switch this around, and I guess part of me just wanted to prove that it could be done.
Yeah. That's great.
Because it's not the norm, but it could be. But it's hard to set that up when you already have systems in place. But there are little things that even if you have a floral shop or a studio that's not geared towards sustainability, there are really small steps you can take. And so part of the products I'm creating is I would like to be able to offer those to other florists in the future so they can take those steps. And as an industry, maybe we can, kind of create some change on our own.
Well, I'm really excited to see where that goes for you, because you have mainly used your own pain points to develop all these solutions that work for you. I also think maybe your change from maybe being a wedding and event focused designer to an everyday florist, your aesthetic changed, and maybe you didn't need foam as much because of the type of bouquets that your customers either hand tied or in a vase, right?
Yeah, I have been still doing some weddings. I did a archway installation yesterday, and that has been a learning curve without foam because
Right.
there are just some things that are way easier with foam. So,
And it's like 90 degrees out. And what did you end up doing?
Actually, it turned out really well. I did use I save like little plastic bags and stuff. I just like save everything. I feel like my mom. I save all these little things like bread bags or whatever. And then I use that just as I showed you on the bottom of the bouquet,
Mm-hmm.
fasten that to the bottom of a bunch of the flowers that are in the installation piece, put a water source in there. And then the mechanics of it were hidden by greenery, and there was some fabric that was draped over it. So everything had a water source with no foam. But it's been a learning curve for that too. It takes a while to get used to creating those mechanics.
Right. That's brilliant though. Yeah, I think that the idea of finding products that you could market could just be a great expansion for your business that that you're using, and that other florists would use too if they had it available to them. So keep us posted on that. That is so cool. You also do a lot of education on social media. I love watching your Instagram feed. You're always showing people how to do, some hack. And the one that caught my eye, maybe we'll share a link to it in our show notes, was you took the strapping tape from boxes and made it into a tote bag. And it was so creative. That was so adorable, but a lot of work. What possessed you? I mean, obviously you probably hated throwing away all that plastic.
Yeah, that's basically it. Is I want to find a use or a reuse for everything. With being zero waste has really helped me think about my waste more and how much I am producing. So, and those straps are so strong. I thought like there's got to be a use for like super strong plastic, like to hold something up, or I don't know. I just love, I'm a maker. I love making things. I'm happy when I'm making things. So eventually I landed on like, well, I should like weave a basket or something. And so I settled on a tote bag, and just made a couple tote bags, and they're awesome because they're so durable. You can just
I just popped up the video here.
They do take a long time, but like if you like making things, it's no different than knitting. It's a project you can work on, a little bit at a time.
No. This just looks like super professional. This isn't like some junky thing. Oh, look how cute that is. I just love it. But do you have a crafty background or something that prompted you to figure out the pattern?
I just kind of winged it on my first. The one on the video is not the first one I made.
Okay.
But I've never woven anything before, but it's pretty, the concept is pretty basic.
Yeah.
Over, under, that's about it. So, eventually I'd like to, I can't make tote bags out of all the plastic straps. So I want to be able to give kits to people with the straps and directions on how to do it. So
that's another product coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, you're so creative. I love it. Well, I know you're teaching a workshop today, so your studio can accommodate a smaller group of people. Like how many people can you accommodate? Like 12 or 15 or?
Yeah, I would say 12 is probably pretty comfortable. Yeah, depending on the project and how much room it takes. A small project, 10 to 15.
So what is today's workshop?
Today's workshop is just you get to come in and fill a quart jar with whatever flowers I have that you want. So,
Oh, wow.
I've kind of opened up the studio to people. I offer something called flower therapy, which is just people can come in and be a florist, and they get kind of like full use of the flower studio. They get to pick what flowers they want to use, and they just kind of get to hang out here with their pals, and just it's relaxing, and people really love it. So that's been kind of a fun way to build a community and get to know faces, since I don't have that retail interaction.
Mm-hmm. Are you pretty much marketing to your people who previously ordered from Foxbound or received a Foxbound bouquet, or is it also on just people on social media who follow you?
A lot of people on social media, yeah, and people that subscribe to my email list. And then, yeah, that's about it.
So fun. Well, have a fun time today.
Well, thank
Kelsey,
you.
Anything else I didn't ask you that you want to make sure that we touch on? You just have so much going on for a one-woman show. I'm really impressed.
But if there are other florists who are wondering about zero waste, or if they're wondering like what small steps they can do to be more sustainable, to reach out to me, and maybe you can put my email address or something
Sure.
on a link, because it's hard to find that information, and there's not a ton of resources or or mentors for that. So I'd be happy to answer questions and help people with that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And I think you're right. It's like, if you have this, take a small step, don't try to take it all on at once, but just, find one facet of your floral business that you could maybe do a little bit better, then have a small victory, and then maybe go on to the next one. Because it sounds like it's ever changing because of the economy and the global supply chain and all the things we're up against. Your unhappiness with crappy glass vases is what prompted you to go learn how to do ceramic vases. And you found a solution, and I think everybody should, instead of feeling trapped or stuck or like you have no choice. There are solutions. They might just require a little sweat equity.
Right, exactly. And I know not everybody's going to have time to do those things.
Yeah.
And so, but there are some, like reusing your cardboard, for example. That's something that's fairly easy, fairly accessible, that anyone can do.
Well, and you could calculate how many deliveries in a year are using recycled cardboard, and you could compare it to what you would have purchased if you bought those pre-made, scored boxes from the wholesaler, probably a couple dollars a piece, and you already know how much you're saving just by repurposing. So, everything has a dollar value to it.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to end this video with the little clip of right when I was saying goodbye to you last week, you said, "Don't you want to spin in the Foxbound Flower electric delivery vehicle?" And we took a little ride, and I did film that on my phone. So I'm going to add that so people can see you in action. Awesome. It was great. I loved it. And I just love what you're doing. And I'm so glad I got to share your story with people, and more to come, because you've got all kinds of, your limitation is time. You've got more ideas than time. So I'm interested to see what comes next. And I'll share some photos of some of Kelsey's arrangements when we post this at slowflowerspodcast.com. But in the meantime, have a great day. And thanks so much for re-recording this with me.
It's been fun, Deborah.
It's been great. I really admire what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, hi, Kelsey. We're in your car. Did you turn it on?
I did. Yep.
Okay, it's very quiet.
We're ready to go.
Okay, great.
I get about, oh gosh, can you see the dust?
No dust. It's very nice.
It's I get about 120 miles, 120 mile range on it daily, which is just about what I need.
That's amazing.
Some days I don't use it all. Some days it gets really close, but 120 miles really does the trick.
And before you take it home and charge it, you mean?
Right. Yep. And it charges using a regular plug-in, like a household plug-in.
No way.
So I didn't have to install anything
Some special adapter or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So the climate is perfect for this car here. I don't think that it would work well like with really wintry conditions.
Would you have used it in North Dakota?
No, not at all. I don't think I would even get a good charge on it when it's really cold weather. But here it works really great.
Okay, I'm going to turn this back here so people can see how big it is. In terms of, you could probably fit, what, a dozen arrangements back here?
Yeah.
And that's probably all you would want to take out at any given time, too.
So when I do have like a wedding where I need more storage capacity, I have another vehicle I can use, but this is just great for day-to-day stuff.
Here we are, driving through Eugene. This is great, Kelsey. Thanks for the little road trip.
Yeah.
Very smooth ride.
It is. It's fun to drive, too. I mostly drive like a grandma to keep my, conserve mileage, but it does have a lot of zips, so if you want to get around really fast, you can.
She's leaping like she's leaping like a fox.
Got some get up and go.
Oh, I have felt that. That's great. Thanks so much for joining me today. That was a great conversation, and I hope you grabbed a few takeaway tips for your own floral enterprise. I know I did. You can visit slowflowerspodcast.com, as I said, to watch the replay video of today's conversation. Look for episode 571. Kelsey has shared more photos of her design work that you'll want to see, and I'll share links to her social places as well. Our next sponsor thanks goes to Store It Cold, creators of the revolutionary CoolBot, a popular solution for flower farmers, studio florists, and farmer florists. You'll save thousands when you build your own walk-in cooler with the CoolBot system and an air conditioner. If you don't have time to build your own, they also have turnkey units available. Learn more at storeitcold.com. And thank you to Cal Flowers, the leading floral trade association in California, providing valuable transportation and other benefits to flower growers and the entire floral supply chain in California and 48 other states. The association is a leader in bringing fresh-cut flowers to the U.S. market and in promoting the benefits of flowers to new generations of American consumers. Learn more at cafgs.org. Thanks so much for joining us today. The Slow Flowers podcast is a member-supported endeavor, downloaded more than 876,000 times by listeners like you. Thank you for listening, commenting, and sharing. It means so much. As our movement gains more supporters and more passionate participants who believe in the importance of our domestic cut flower industry, the momentum is contagious. I know you feel it too. If you're new to our weekly show and our long-running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowersociety.com and consider making a donation to sustain Slow Flowers' ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find the donate button at slowflowerspodcast.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of The Slow Flowers Show and The Slow Flowers Podcast. The Slow Flowers Podcast is engineered and edited by Andrew Brinlin. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. I'll see you then.